Welcome to the Mondoweiss podcast. I'm your host, Dave Reed. At Mondoweiss, we cover the movements, activists, and policymakers who affect the struggle for freedom in Palestine. In today's episode, Yumna Patel speaks with Palestinian farmers working to bring in their olive crop as the harvest season winds down. This is a shorter episode that captures their stories and some of the sounds of the olive harvest. We hope you enjoy this format. Please send me an email or leave us a message through SparkPipe with your feedback. You can find those links in the show notes.
These are the familiar sounds of the Palestinian olive harvest. Tree branches shaking, hands plucking the ripe olives off their branches, and the pitter-patter as olives fall to the ground. The olive harvest is a landmark occasion in Palestine and is celebrated and cherished by families in the occupied West Bank every year. Once the first rain of the autumn season falls, Palestinian families go to their olive groves, where they spend the next few weeks combing through their fields and pick every last olive off the trees before the winter frost sets in. On the outskirts of Bethlehem, on a small plot of land surrounded by a makeshift fence, what seems like a typical olive harvest scene unfolds. An elderly woman by the name of Yasser sits on a rickety chair in the middle of an olive grove, while dozens of people, men, women, teenagers, and children, pick the olives off the trees around her. The people surrounding her, however, are not Yasser's children or family members. In fact, up until today, she hadn't met most of them. That's Asil Jafari, a young woman from the city of Bethlehem. She's one of dozens of volunteers who came from across the West Bank to help Yasser pick her olives before the harvest ends. The main reason we're here today is to support the farmers. As youth, we have a social responsibility to volunteer and be here in places like this. Yasser, now in her late 70s, is a widow and lives alone. With no close family members nearby, Yasser, who has a multitude of health issues, relies on volunteers and local activists to help harvest her olives, which she planted herself decades ago. For years, I would come and go to this land and plant trees. I planted everything myself. There isn't a single kind of tree here that I didn't plant. There are olive trees, apples, apricots, plums, pomegranates, za'atar, sage, lemons, oranges, everything. I used to be strong and healthy and took care of this land well. But after my son died, I started to have heart problems, issues with my kidneys, joints, and blood pressure. I couldn't take care of the land anymore. While Yasser is no longer physically capable of harvesting her olive trees, there's another, more sinister reason for why the volunteers have come to help her. I'm surrounded. There's a settlement here to my right, another settlement to my left, and a settlement behind me, and a settler road in front of me. I'm surrounded on all four sides. This settlement over here is half a kilometer away from me. Al-Azhar, Daniel, Efrat, and there's another one on top. Surrounded by Israeli settlements and settler roads, over the years, Yasser's land has been the target of several settler attacks. There isn't a proper fence around my land. Sometimes I would come to work and would find all my crops were gone. One time, the Israeli settlers cut down 22 of my trees, 22 olive trees. Last year, Yasser came to her land to harvest her olives, only to find that the harvest had been stolen, and not a single olive was left on her trees. I went crazy. I lost my mind when I saw it. I started crying, hitting myself, screaming. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't an easy thing to bear. When you tire yourself and put all your energy into these trees all year, only to come and finally pick them and not find them. In the days leading up to this year's harvest, Yasser said she couldn't sleep for fear that she would come back and find her olives missing again. Yesterday, it didn't leave my mind. I kept waking up in the middle of the night thinking, someone probably broke down the gate, someone cut down my trees, or someone stole the olives. I didn't sleep. I'm always having nightmares about it. No matter how hard I try, I can't stop worrying. Mundir Amira is a local activist with a popular resistance committee in the West Bank. He's been helping Yasser farm her land for years and helped organize the trip to come harvest her olives this season. Amira is also part of the group Faza, a collective of volunteers and activists that travel to hotspots throughout the occupied territory during the olive harvest season in an effort to help Palestinian farmers and protect them from settler attacks.
احنا حملاتنا بتستهدف بشكل أساسي الأراضي.
Our work and activities focus on the land that are close to the settlements and are subject to attacks from the settlers. This is one of the areas that is constantly under settler attack. It's really important for us that the farmer doesn't feel like they are alone. When I go to someone's land, it doesn't matter who the owner is. All that matters is that these people are under attack and are scared to go to their land. So that's where my role comes in. The real resistance is to stand on your land and support farmers and protect this land. And though Amira carries a smile on his face, he says there's always a fear in the back of his mind that things here could immediately go south. At any moment, the settlers or soldiers could come and attack us here. During this olive harvest season, our volunteers have come under attack many times. I've been arrested myself, along with my colleagues. Many of them have also been injured. This season used to be a happy and joyous season, and a blessed season that the Palestinian farmers would wait for all year round. But unfortunately today, it's turned into a season of fear. The Palestinian farmer waits in fear and worry, because with every olive he harvests, he's waiting for an attack from the settlers. Despite the very imminent threat that activists like Amira face, he insists that they must continue to maintain a presence during the olive harvest season, not only to help the farmers, but to take a stand against the Israeli occupation. Stealing olives, cutting down trees, preventing farmers from accessing their lands. This is all part of the attempt to displace and remove Palestinians from their land. And we are here to say that this land is ours. We will continue to harvest and plant it, and we will continue to defend it with everything we have. By the end of the afternoon, every last olive had been picked from Yasser's trees, and to her relief, the day went off without any problems. For now, she'll pack up this year's harvest and turn it into olive oil that will last her until next year's harvest. Until then, she says that as long as her health permits, she'll keep coming to her land to take care of her olive trees, no matter what dangers she may face. Olives are our heritage. They are everything. The olive trees have everything we need. All of the land. It means the world to me, not just the olive trees. Your land is your life. Your land is your soul. There's nothing more important than your land. It's more important than life itself.
Thanks for listening to our show, a production of mondoweiss.net. The music is from Sound of Picture. Visit our site to sign up for free daily and weekly newsletters on Palestine, Israel, and related U.S. politics. If you're enjoying our podcast, please consider becoming a donor by visiting mondoweiss.net/donate. Mondoweiss is a nonprofit publication, and every donation of any amount helps sustain our work. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen, and please leave a rating and review to help other listeners find our show.